Hey Dave,
How are you,
I'm
Robin?
doing well. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Enjoying a quasi quiet week.
Yeah, and it was I mean, today just felt so nice, the weather.
Hmm.
It was a quiet week and I decided, and today was especially quiet, and I left work early and I just came home and I walked to Oliver.
And
It was
and
so
life is
nice,
grand. Yeah.
right? We got done at 5:45 and it was just starting to get dark.
Oh, there's hope on the horizon for sure. It's
I
like,
know.
okay.
Wow, this is great.
So, oh goodness. Well, yeah, Kate got up and brought the dogs for a walk this morning, and they're always so much happier having gone for a walk.
Right. It's like it's so much better. Usually I was walking, and today I noticed it too, from the train station to my office. It was light. 6:30 a.m. and it was light. It was great.
Yep. Uh, well, it's have you been to Alaska or places way far north?
Yeah, so we've been to Iceland and we were there in June and it just never got dark, which was like the weirdest thing too.
Right.
And I know if you go there, like one of my work colleagues is going to Iceland now and you know, a lot of night.
There's a lot of night. I just remember we went to Alaska and it was 10:30 at night and the sky was at the angle of 5 o'clock. And it's like, it's 10:30 at night. Is the sun ever going to go down?
Right, and that's what it was like in Iceland and all the hotels had those the light, the darkening shades and it was just crazy. And you
Uh,
just have to go to sleep. I mean, you have to pull those shades down and go to sleep.
right. I can. At this point, if I don't get my beauty sleep, then, you know, Mike, you're laughing. How come you're laughing?
What?
It's hell
Me?
to pay for all of us.
Look at this. He takes a couple days off and he comes back. He's laughing at us. So, did you have some good time off?
I did, yeah. Just yeah, yesterday and a couple half days. It was good, really good. To kids were home, so it was nice to just do a few things. It was good. We
Excellent.
watched my nephew as well. He's a year and a half, so that was a lot of fun.
And you
I
must be
thought you were going to
exhausted.
say you watched the Olympics. They have been so much
Yes,
fun.
I actually got to finally sit and watch some of that. It was good. It was really nice to see those.
So today I was keeping track of the women's hockey team score,
Yeah.
and I wanted to come home early, so I left. And Canada was up 1-0, and I was walking past Bank of America, which is the old First National Bank of Boston building, Dave. And in there, they have this new cafe, and the cafe has the entire wall is this giant screen, TV screen, and the game was on, and I saw the tying goal being scored.
Oh
Wow.
wow! In overtime, right?
Well, the winning
No,
goal is
no, not the
overtime.
winning
Oh,
goal, the
okay,
tying
gotcha,
goal,
gotcha.
right? And I was like, oh my God, it was just unbelievable because, I was, and then, and then when I was on the train, I was looking at the score and I saw that they
That's amazing.
clinched it.
Hi everyone. I'm just going to hop off and come back in on my other computer. It was going nuts and I had to reboot it. So
Oh,
Okay.
geez.
I'll be there in 30 seconds.
All right.
Okay. We
Sold.
won't start until you reconnect.
Thank you.
So when he comes back on, you have to say, so all those in favor?
What can we tell him? We voted him as something.
Yeah, exactly. It's just,
He's the liaison to all committees.
Yeah.
Sold.
Back again.
All right. So, Cam, while you were gone, we voted you liaison to all committees for the rest of the year.
For being a minute late.
Being a minute late.
Let's see.
All right. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's February 19th, 2026 meeting. This meeting is commencing 1 minute late for the record. We're holding the meeting remotely.
Nasty.
Well, I didn't say why. I just said it's being held 1 minute late. It's being held remotely using Zoom technology. The Zoom technology that we're using is the webinar format. And so I'm going to let you know if you wish to make a comment during public comment, please raise your hand in the webinar controls to let us know that you would like to make a comment. So before we begin with the citizens' comments, I will open the meeting by taking a roll call vote of the Board of Selectmen. Robin Hunter present.
Dave Haviland present.
Cam Hudson present.
You sure?
And
I think.
yeah. And now we will go to citizens' comments. So if anybody has a comment, please raise your hand and we will give you permission to speak. And I only see somebody from the planning board.
Probably Melissa, and then George, and then our warrant committee rep, which I believe is Misha.
Right. So with that, I suggest we move to the first item on the agenda, which is the presentation from the Board of Appeals regarding their activities during the year and also events. And with us this evening, once we bring him in, will be George Chimento, Chair of the Board of Appeals. Hi, George.
Unmute.
There we go.
Here we are.
There you go.
Good. Okay. Well, it's been a year and a half that I have been chairman, and I can tell you it's actually been fun. There's a good deal of work, but the fun part is Alan Fryer left matters in great order. I've spoken with him, and he was a great chairman, and the other great asset is the board. These are fabulous people: Laverne Lovell, Nadir Ahmed, Nancy Green, Mike Donovan. Thank you for appointing them and also reappointing. And I'm delighted they all, when their terms have expired, have been willing to continue on the board. They've got great institutional knowledge. It's a real help to serve with them. What I thought I would do quickly is just review what are our functions and authority, and then go over activities. And I think I didn't meet with you last year, but we could review 2024, 2025, the matters we did, and then a few things on a wish list. Okay, so first, our functions and authority. We hear appeals from the building inspector. When the building inspector denies, people can appeal. Often when they appeal, the grounds are not that he made a mistake, but the grounds are he was right, but can you give us a variance from the requirements? And that when we hear those variance hearings, we can't do this just to be nice and neighborly. There really are requirements that we do insist on, and it's a good process. We also grant special permits for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's construction within 150 feet of the Charles River, within 50 feet of designated streams. We're also a catch-all permit granting authority for just all sorts of things where another board has not been granted that authority. For example, request to run an Airbnb out of your house. You need a special permit from the Board of Appeals. And I'm going to talk about that a bit later. We also, the most visible function we have are for 40B applications. Under state law, we've got a lot of authority that normally would be exercised by the planning board. Under the state law, our large lot, one family zoning basically goes out the window in favor of affordable development. And, and I'll tell you about some of the things we have dealt with and things that are coming up. For 2024, before I joined, the town, the board did approve a town culvert over on Willow Street and Dedham Street. It was over Noannock Brook. They also approved a special permit to add an accessory dwelling unit at 3 Claybrook. And most importantly, they rejected a very controversial 40B application. It's called Trout Brook. The applicant basically had 4 sites, 2 of them contiguous. And the proposal was, and Selectmen, you know this, so this is hopefully for the public. There were four lots, 2 of them contiguous, the other 2 somewhat distant. And the proposal is, let me build 3 market rate units, and I'll put an affordable unit on one of the lots. That was pretty startling to the board at the time, and also to me, had I been on the board. You think of a permit as being an integrated community where we don't separate affordable from non-affordable. People live together. It's the state law. And actually, we've had good success with them in town. But the board, I think, wisely denied that application. It went to the state, to the Housing Appeals Committee there, and the state disagreed with the board and said, no, that's okay. You can do that under 40B, which would have enormous repercussions for a town. It basically means just picking up 4 lots and without any relationship and developing 3 of them, really without regard to our zoning, and making only one of them affordable. The selectmen who have the power of the purse wisely decided, let's appeal that one. And it is with the Superior Court right now. Our lawyers have developed very comprehensive and persuasive arguments, and we need to see what the result will be. Then August 2024, enter George. So now I'm the chairman, and I'll tell you the things we dealt with. The first thing was on Farm Street, and it was many of you know it's next to Springdale Field, 8 and 8A Farm Street. One of those was actually a 2-family dwelling, which normally would not be allowed in 1-family zoning. But it was grandfathered. It actually had been there before the zoning law made it 1 family in that area. And we did, we made a determination. We relied on our counsel to be sure we had this right, that the grandfathering was appropriate, but under conditions and one of the primary ones is that the footprint not be changed, not going to turn it into something more than it was. And so that was granted. There was on 62 Claybrook, there was a great illustration of how the variance system works. This was a lot that was somewhat narrow at the front. It was much bigger than the zoning required. At the very back, where the lot was widest, there was wetlands. And in order to use the lot, the proposal was to put a house up near the front and get a sideline exception of a few feet on each side. Normally, we would not grant that, but when we looked at the statute, it said if there are really conditions that will make this unbuildable, and it would be buildable, and it's really because of the configuration of your lot, it's okay to grant a variance. But at that, the board did not want to grant a variance if it was going to be a great big house out of step with what the neighbors had. So the developer worked with us, and the house that will be approved is, consistent with the neighborhood. And we also made sure that the sideline variances were pretty much equal on each side, so that the persons on one side would not have a house closer to them than the persons on the other. But that was a good example of when a variance works. We gave the town a special permit to replace the Powasset brook culvert that's under Wilsondale Street. Good engineering on that. We learned a lot about how to build a culvert, and especially about the flow for the wildlife, all sorts of things that actually are important. And that was very good engineering that the town had. That was done through the highway department. There was a contentious matter that involving Oakley Road, and really a question whether Oakley Road, which at this part of it was a stub that connected to the church parking lot, that stub is not developed as a road. However, it's shown on a subdivision plan that was recorded back in the 1920s, and Oakley Road is shown as a street. And the question really was, and we had a lot of legal briefing on this. The question was, is an undeveloped street that's on a map, does it lose its characteristic as a street for purposes of zoning setbacks? Is it a paper street? And that was bandied about. It's just a paper street, and accordingly, the zoning rules ought to be treating this as if it is not next to a road, but really just with the lesser requirements when you're not next to a road. We looked at that, and we determined that the zoning setbacks still apply. We agreed that for the time being, and maybe forever, it is a paper street if we're talking about frontage to build a new house. You can't build a new house without a street. But we, in our bylaws, and they're well written. Sometimes you hear a lot of criticism about our bylaws, but actually they were well written because they describe streets and frontage, and then we've got a special provision dealing with frontage. So although somewhat of a paper street in some ways, it just made sense to do that. And we wrote I think an awfully persuasive decision. And I was glad. I mean, that, like all of these things, one of the things you get acquainted with when you're on a board of appeals, you're dealing with folks who are going to be unhappy or happy based on your decision. And, there's next to family, there's probably nothing more precious than your land. And is your neighbor doing something right or wrong? Does it affect your values? And there was, not just here, but I think we had a good and civilized process. I was glad. I think although not everyone was happy with the decision, it was the right decision. And we can use that in future because we have lots of roads like Oakley that are either on a map or in the case of Tisdale Drive, which we'll get to next, have been accepted by town, but never recorded as such. And their status is something we are running into. I'd say that there was also something dealing with front yard setbacks, and the developer decided it would not pursue that at all. But I think that the big thing for us was the 40B proposal on Tisdale Drive, and that was for over 40 units rental, and there was a great deal of public interest, as you can imagine. A lot of it of course, from people in county court who were very concerned that you'd have over 40 apartments using Tisdale Drive. That the developer withdrew that application. I believe we had 6 sessions of a public hearing on that, but the withdrawal was really mostly a concern, we believe, to the lack of water. The water company changed its position halfway through the hearing, said there would not be enough water. Initially, they had said there would be water, but they basically said they would not be able to provide the water. There was also a question about whether Tisdale Drive, which was accepted by town meeting, but not recorded within a requisite time that our council says is required, whether it is a street or whether it is still owned by the trust and is essentially a private road that the town services, but not a street and therefore not accessible if 40 new units were to be built behind it. So that was something where the trust that represents the condominium owners there was definitely clear this would not be allowed. The developers also, we stayed clear of that. We decided that really was something for them to resolve along with water access. But otherwise, that just concluded with a withdrawal. Coming up, I think we may have something on Strawberry Hill Street from what I saw last. That's before MHFA to get a suitability letter. And if that is granted, I would imagine we would get an application. Usually it might be 3 to 5 months after that letter is issued because the developer will want to get engineering and other things all lined up before filing an application and opening a public hearing. Other stuff, administrative changes. I noticed the other day, we do have on the web, and Mike, I'm just going to hit you. I know you've been on vacation, but I noticed that we have instructions for people who apply to the board. But goodness, they date back to 2001. Back, and they are a bit rusty in some ways. So I've revised those. Mike's reviewing them, and we'll get them on the website so there's no misunderstandings about the application process. I think that other stuff, I think one thing I noticed also, the fees back in 2001 were $150. That hasn't changed. The assessor, this is to file with us, and the assessors charge, I learned, a flat rate. They determined this recently for the preparing a list of abutters when that's necessary. That's $50. So, generally it's $200 in. The $150 may not even cover the advertising costs at this point. And I don't know the process to establish new fees. I believe that may go through you, and I wanted to ask Mike about that. Does the Board of Selectmen review fees? I know the assessors apparently determined the $50 fee internally. If that's something we can do, I could put that up as a matter for the board to consider. Okay, so that's something that just
George, all of this is extremely helpful, but we are pressed for time.
okay. Let's
I
go.
think I think with respect to the fees, what I would suggest you do is have somebody on your committee or each of you take a town and see what like towns are charging and then make a recommendation. And I think we can discuss that. But thank you very much for bringing that to our attention
Sure.
because we should have those things be market rate. And again, I think I would like to thank you and your entire committee for everything you do. I don't think the citizens of Dover appreciate sometimes how much time you spend listening to some of these appeals. And you're right, these are our neighbors, these are our friends, these are members of our community. But at the same time, we need to make sure that the same rules and regulations apply to all of us. And so I really appreciate the approach that your committee takes with all of these appeals and the manner in which you conduct some very tricky situations.
Well, it has been a learning process. But it's also, again, as I started, it's been fun. Lived here since 1985, and yeah, you try to give something back to the town. Okay, that's it. You'll hear from me next year, unless I get in trouble before that.
Well, you will never get into trouble. But let me see, Dave or Cam may want to say something. So let me allow them to voice their opinions.
I'm just
Sure.
going to say thank you. Appreciate you and your whole committee's time. We probably have a little bit better inkling of how much time and commitment you have than just someone off the street. Again, I'll just say thank you, George, and to you and your committee.
Oh, that's
And
great.
and I would say exactly the same thing, George. Thank you so much for the work you guys do. It's really appreciated.
Well,
And
that's excellent. Thank you all, and I will depart.
all right, and thank you
Okay,
for a great summary, George.
you
It
bet.
really highlights all the work you've done over the last 2 years, you and the committee, because you wanted to make sure that we highlighted that. So thank you. All right, and so the next item on our agenda is the discussion and vote of a contract between Dover and the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, or MAPC, regarding the tree preservation bylaw. And Melissa, welcome. Our town planner, Melissa Santucci Rosie, is here. And is Val going to be joining us as well, or?
I'm here solo tonight, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Solo.
Well,
Yes.
welcome, Melissa. Thank
Thank
you for braving this alone.
Thank you. And I have a little confession. This is the first time I think I've been either not a panelist or not operating a Zoom. So it was kind of interesting being in the bullpen. I wasn't sure if I was gonna get a spot or not. But I appreciate being here this evening. I appreciate your time and effort and attention to this agenda item this evening. I've been working with Val and her committee, primarily working on a scope of services, speaking to the executive director and the land use planner at a Metropolitan Area Planning Council, sharing that scope with them. We've spent some time going back and forth with that, with primary attention and detail to the public participation component. Understanding that this might be something that's a little bit controversial, and we want to make sure that we gather as much information locally and hear from our residents as we move towards a bylaw. We want to try to forecast and get ahead of any situations prior to the town meeting floor. That's always a good path. So just to kind of quickly summarize, the contract will be funded in part by a grant from the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. That's a $12,000 grant. Those are state funds. And the remainder of the contract amount to get us up to the 40,000 is $28,000 from a line item in the planning board budget for professional services, both in the FY26 and potentially in the FY27 budget. The contract attached to it is a scope of services, had a start date in February. I think half of Massachusetts was sick in January, so we are going to potentially be changing the start date, obviously, to March. Even some of the consultant teams been on vacation this week for school vacation. I want to thank Member Haviland for reaching out in advance with some questions. Luckily, was able to answer some of those. He had some particulars. Those have been shared with Nina Pickering Cook and also General Counsel for MAPC. Nina and MAPC have been going back and forth today on their comments, and it looks like they're coming to conclusion and agreement based on her markup. So we hope to have that at the beginning of next week. And that's basically the summary. I can answer any questions on the scope, timeline, general objectives, goals, whatever the selectmen have this evening. Thank you.
Okay, so then, Melissa, since we don't really have a final contract to approve this evening, I'm not sure what Dave's questions were. Is the idea to give us a red line version to look at and then to approve that, or?
If I may, Robin, so what was
Okay.
circulated, I didn't have, when we're doing the agenda, and I was working with Mike and Nina, Mona, we didn't have the comments back from Nina yet. So
Okay.
turned up the heat a little bit and we have those. Dave's comments, and Dave, tell me if I'm wrong, were on the original draft. A lot of the things that Nina put in, and Dave and I chuckled about this, the legal words and lawyer talk and things like that. If you are in fact comfortable, and I would be requesting this evening, if you wouldn't mind moving forward, we want to keep this moving, subject to final approval by town council, Nina Pickering Cook. I hope that's not out of the norm and that can be accepted, again, with the effort of trying to really keep this thing moving. Thank you.
Right. Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I would definitely defer to Nina. So I'm comfortable with that. Dave and Cam, are you comfortable with that?
Well, certainly I'm in favor of moving forward. I would just put one more caveat in there that any minor edits Mike can perform. Because, I mean, there's some nits, but it's not worth holding it
Okay.
up. Does that make sense?
Yep, so that makes perfect sense. So how about this is once we have an approved contract, Mike or Melissa can just send around a red line version so we can see the changes. But but I'm comfortable and I agree, we'll give Mike authorization to make changes that aren't substantive. So I'm going to move to approve the contract for professional services by and between the Metropolitan Area Planning Council and the town of Dover as amended by town council and town administrator for professional services related to creating a tree preservation bylaw. Approval of the contract is contingent upon town council's review, or final review.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
Hi, Cam Hudson.
So, Mike, I've just got a few nits that I can share with you on Monday.
Yeah, so I think Melissa actually shared them with Nina.
Yeah.
I have a copy of them, and I think they may already be incorporated into the red line, but I'll verify that.
Okay, yeah.
I did, I correct Mike and Dave. I wanted to get those early over to Nina in case she had a comment on any of those as well. So that they, when we're reviewing in total, making sure that those going in after didn't maybe conflict with some legal revisions as well.
Exactly. And obviously, Nina's legal revision carries weight.
Right.
I'm conceptual, she's factual or legal or whatever.
I appreciate the vote this evening, and I'll look forward to input and participation as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Melissa.
Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa.
All right, so the next item on our agenda, wow, town meeting is coming upon us quickly, huh?
Yeah.
Is preparing,
It's scary, yeah.
right? And I guess we're getting ready to print the warrants.
We're getting closer, So,
Okay.
yeah, so really what this is your kind of
Just
annual
to review
review.
the order, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we've had this working document since early January when
Right.
the warrant closed. There haven't been any real significant changes because, again, remember, this is pretty broad. Dollar amounts change, but they're not in the article, they're in the motion.
Right.
So we have more time to deal with that sort of thing. I don't think, unless you prove otherwise, and you're welcome to, there's a lot of necessary discussion on movement because we generally follow this kind of order here, where we group articles. We keep all the financial and budget articles. Usually that first batch is all the standard annually reoccurring, and at the end of that section is anything new for this year that would be a financial impact. We then have the zoning and land use articles, anything more broad, general articles, and then close out with the tax rate and the town election. So another reason this is important, Robin, is as we prepare for open hearing and start public hearings and advertisings, the article number, we generally don't like to move it after that because people refer to the articles as Article X or Y, and so it gets confusing if we then change them too far down the road. So.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, the only thing I would think about, which is going to mess up some of the way this is done, is the zoning, planning, and land use articles tend to have a lot of debate at town meeting. And I think maybe at our next meeting, we should invite the moderator and maybe the planning board and just have a discussion as to where we want to put these. And if it makes sense, I mean, I love the way they're grouped, but I do know, we're going to have Article 4 and 5, and then I'm not sure how much time is going to elapse between those articles, which also have discussion, and some of these other things, which I'm going to call more boilerplate, with the exception of the planning board's one-time project and the sustainability one-time project. So when I look at these, I see 4, 5, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 being the ones that I see could potentially have some debate at town meeting. But this is my own personal opinion, just from experience.
I think I was going to suggest that you invite Jim to take a look at the list and then weigh in. He's pretty good at running meetings, and your point is very well taken, Robin. And just get all the stakeholders, if you will, in the room and come up with a decision.
Yeah. And in the past, Mike, we've done this like planning meeting. So why don't we do that and then just bring the recommendation from the planning meeting, and one of us will be at that meeting.
Okay.
Because it will just make it a lot easier to organize.
Yeah. And I do agree with you, Dave, that Jim's input would be really important in this because he's the one who owns trying to get through the meeting in a single night. So, and he does that really well.
I'll talk a little bit more when we get to updates, but the sustainability climate action plan may have some, for lack of a better word, some hair on it. So I'll explain that in a little bit.
Okay. All right. All right. Who wants to volunteer for Mike to be on the town meeting task force?
Well, I used to be it, so if you want me
Okay,
to do it,
there you go. Dave's on it. Excellent. Dave's your man.
Mike's going, oh, not again. So
No, no, I think that actually probably makes the most sense. So thank you.
Right. All right. So then we'll move.
oh, wait a
to
minute.
the
Isn't
next-
Cam supposed to get all the assignments for the rest of this year?
You volunteered. Where I'm going with it.
I was about to
on
step forward,
item
but you beat me to it,
1.4.
Dave.
Right. We're on to, I think Cam was on this committee as well.
Indeed, I'm familiar with it.
Experience too. I'm the only one who hasn't enjoyed.
But Dave, if it's too onerous for you, I'm prepared to reluctantly take over. But,
No, we're talking about a one half hour meeting, I believe.
yeah, right.
So,
Yeah.
If that, because I just think, maybe some of those, maybe some of the zoning bylaws aren't going to be as controversial as I think they might be. So,
Yeah.
I think the site plan review process is going to have a lot of debate.
given the past town meetings and some of the issues, I think you're right.
Right.
And just so I have some direction from the board, so I think this makes perfect sense. But is the consensus suggesting that we go away from this kind of grouping and move articles that might have more discussion out of order, like that we typically do? Or I just want to make sure I understand the guidance.
Or can we take them out of order at town meeting? Can we still have this order, but take them out of order at town meeting?
Okay.
I'm not sure what
it,
we actually gained by that, Robin, because we're still going to have to get through them one way or another.
Right. Well, it just gets later in the night and people tend to get
more impatient.
A little impatient, right? And so the question is, should we tackle some of the harder things earlier in the night and some of the more of the rubbish?
Might be a case to leave it till the very end. It might reduce the amount of conversation.
That too, that might be the answer. I just thought I'd bring it up.
There's lots of strategies to all of this, and Mr. Rapetti will need the input of Carol from the planning board. So we'll add her to the list, and hopefully it'll be a half hour.
I see Jim's actually here and raising his hand.
Because Mike, I actually like the way they're grouped. I think it makes a ton of sense. So.
Okay.
Why don't we let Jim in since...
You really want to do that?
Yeah.
Dave, do you want to call our little subcommittee to order now? Or?
Yeah, exactly. Jim, we saw you for about half a second, and then
there we go.
There we are.
I was going to say, I think we should have a separate meeting, but I was going to suggest that we should probably try to establish the order in the printed town warrant rather than we do have authority to change the order for consideration during the meeting, but experience in the past suggests that sometimes people are concerned that we're playing politics or that we're trying to, bury something at the last minute. So I think that to avoid that additional layer of complexity in a debate, it makes sense to think about it beforehand and determine what we want the sequence to be. And I'm certainly open to whatever suggestions you all have. There's merit in having some of this stuff go late, but on the other hand, people can get tired and pretty cantankerous at 11:30 at night.
Exactly. That's my concern. And some of them may not have had dinner and
That sounds like the voice of experience.
So
So,
I still think that we should all think about budgeting free wine for everybody who attends town meetings. So
After 11 o'clock.
Yeah. We could maybe at least order some pizza or something.
right.
good. All right. Well, Jim, we'll be in touch to get a quick meeting together and include Carol.
okay, great. Thank you very much for all you
So
fellas do. Thank you.
Carol's in Australia for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Does she have a pinch hitter who can help us with
well, I
the?
think
I think
Melissa can be super helpful or Jody.
I think
Jody.
Jody's been kind of filling in, or is kind of
Right.
tapped to fill in, so we could reach out to Melissa and Jody.
Yeah, just ask them who can do it.
Right.
But it is just a Zoom call to Australia. I do one regularly.
Right, but she really is trying to disconnect.
Yeah, I understand that.
All right, so then item 1.4, it's up. Oh, this makes sense. The update on 2026 town meeting preparations and communications.
So this has my name on it, but I'm gonna
And I was
immediately turn
assuming
over.
it was Chris.
It should be. I'm gonna turn over to Chris, and I don't know if Suzanne is here, but I'll turn it over to them.
Yeah, so kind of perfect timing as we're ramping up discussing articles, getting prepared for the warrant and all the things for the event. Suzanne and I have been preparing to ramp up communications alongside of all of our increased activity internally and try to push some of that information out to the public. But tonight we really wanted to focus in on one specific aspect of the communications plan that we designed that we've done in the past. I think this will be our third town meeting doing this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but we have a direct mailer that will be going out to all residents, encouraging them to. Well, the first is to raise awareness about town meeting and encourage everybody to come, but also primarily try to engage people and get them interested in coming to open hearing to learn a little bit about the articles and just get a little bit more engaged ahead of the big day. So let's see if I can share my screen. It's a small version, so forgive me, but this is the mailer. It'll go out in a folded kind of manner, but obviously, first and foremost, we have the date of open hearing, just some little verbiage to capture people's attention, but really the meat of it is annual town meeting and describing a little bit about the event, what the warrant is, the town election, the role of warrant committee's recommendations in the process. And then when we go further down, we have it looks like we'll fix that, 2 pages got printed posted in here twice, but there's a whole nother section about open hearing and what that is about, where we highlight some relevant articles that might get people interested in learning more about. So as you can kind of see here in this document, this is not something that's polished for public, but you can kind of see the extent in which we have everything mapped out for communications activities over the next 3 months, broken out by kind of event, starting with caucus through open hearing, then town meeting, and then the election after that. So we're planning a lot of different methods. You can see just some of the tools here, like an email blast, then it goes out on social medias, then it goes out on the front page of the website, and then we'll do another email and more social media. So the frequency is going to be upped a lot this year, and we do have all the like associated deliverables for the post kind of all written out already. So just to show everybody a little bit of how we plan to orchestrate one of these campaigns related to some of these major town activities. One of the other kind of semi-big changes for open hearing this year is we are planning on moving it to the community center in the community room. And we are excited to report that we're going to be able to offer open hearing as a hybrid meeting, allowing the residents to join online via a Zoom webinar and either observe or we're still kind of ironing out some details, but perhaps some ways to engage remotely just as they would if they were in the room. So we're hoping that we can remodel some of the success that we've had with other public information sessions and public forums over the past year and kind of bring that product, so to speak, to open hearing. Just try to get more people engaged and get more attention on town meetings. So, and I think it all kind of kicks off with this mailer, which will have the direct QR code to join and go to the town meeting website where all the kind of primary source information will be posted, just like all of our other campaigns. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We're planning on kind of shipping this plan around just to solicit some feedback. But we're really excited for what we have planned. And I think it's just going to be a good, in the past, we've done communications related to town meeting, but now we have a document that will live on that we can iterate upon depending on what goes right or not so good this year. So we're happy to have a plan and fine tune it years and years ahead.
It is great to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Robin.
No, I mean, it sounds great. So, Chris, we're going to set up the room, the community room that's on the first floor, and will you bring in screens?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the good news is the audio in the community room is
much
very good.
Better. Right.
There is
and you're not competing with rattles in the heating system.
Right.
Yes, both in what noises won't be present and the general acoustics. It's better in both of those ways, but it's a little bit of a smaller room. I don't expect that we will be constrained based on some of our previous attendance and kind of the demographic that shows up in person is what I'm assuming like the key kind of stakeholders, department heads, people who are highly interested in articles or might be sponsoring an article. So we're kind of expecting the same in-person attendance. And then, our goal is to get, if we can get 20 to 30 people from the general public this go around to come and just listen and maybe engage, I think that'll be a success. But to talk more about the specifics of the event, we do have a projector. There's microphones in there, so it's pretty much the same standard setup in person that we would be using for open hearing. The projector screen is much closer to the audience, so I think that will be improved visuals for the people in attendance. And we do have a big all-in-one TV screen, microphone, camera that we're planning on positioning for the public to view the podium and the warrant committee and selectmen up at the front table. So they won't be able to see the crowd, but we'll make sure that we capture the public mic, elected and appointed officials, and obviously the presentation as well. We're also going to, share screen on the webinar with the slide deck, so people won't have to be squinting through their screen at home to view the projector in the room. So we're hoping that it can be an improving experience for everybody, but we might have a couple hiccups through the way that we're going to try to put a couple disclaimers out there. And we might have a few bumps in the road as we try this new setup, but we're really excited to give it a shot.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of the feedback we got was, why can't you make this a hybrid meeting? Mm-hmm. And, if we could get 20 people online listening to the meeting, that would be a win for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then, the nice thing about this is it will be recorded on YouTube as well. So.
Right.
Yep.
I just wanted to add thank you to Chris and Stan. So as the board, I think, knows, the community center was not outfitted for kind of what I would consider a true hybrid meeting setup. Right. So we're making it work. As Chris said, I think because it's a kind of an experiment, we're still going to post the meeting as an in-person meeting, because I think if we post it on the agenda legally as a hybrid meeting, I'm concerned if something went south. So legally we'll still be in person, but we're going to offer this. I think one difference just from the public expectation is, for example, if someone has a question from home, we may ask they type it in, and Chris or Suzanne will read it aloud for that person, as opposed to them participating directly as they might be used to at these sort of all webinar meetings. And then I just lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Yeah, well, Mike, you just highlighted the major constraint from the public standpoint is that the audio from said TV, camera, microphone combination will not be loud enough to be heard in the room. And that's what we're trying to iron out is how we can incorporate engagement from those, live engagement from those who are attending remotely. And it might come down to written questions that we either read or provide written answers or follow up afterwards. That's just kind of the details that we're working through to discuss, discussing to come up with a plan before the event.
Would it
then,
make
Robin,
sense?
you mentioned, sorry, Kim.
No, I was just going to ask Chris or you, Mike, would it make sense for us to put in some sort of caveat in the advertising to tell people that this is an experiment, and if they really plan to be contributing actively in the meeting, they probably should still attend in person? I think that would make sense, because otherwise...
That's a good point, Cam. One sentence can correct a lot of ills.
Yeah.
I think we've been working and trying to how to phrase that.
Yeah.
A nice bullet point to say, but yes, we'll try to make sure we convey that message. Yep. And then Robin was mentioning YouTube, which I completely agree. The other thing is Chris can attest to, we get a lot of views on Facebook when we live stream. So doing this, we can also live stream to Facebook. Right. And love it or hate it, people watch it. And it's a great way. Even it doesn't mean people stay for the whole thing, but they might watch it for 30 seconds or 5 minutes, and they pick a few things up. And so this will be great for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Every kind of little bit of engagement we can get, it all adds up.
Right. And we have to try, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know
that's right.
There is a desire for hybrid type meetings, and we'll see what works about this one and what doesn't, and then we have a whole year to see if we can make other improvements.
Yes, does it make sense for us to contemplate trying to set up some sort of solution where hybrid meetings would be pro forma rather than special efforts all the time?
Yeah, we're looking at that. So we have a few options. I mean, it costs money, right? So that's the limiting factor. But we're looking at some options to do that, whether it's grant funding or some cable funding, things like that to outfit. I think the community room probably makes the most sense, and to try to install it so that you're right, going forward, we can have true hybrid meetings that people could fully participate in person or home. Because, to Robin's point, we've had huge successes on our rail trail, MBTA, but we still get some of that feedback. I'd really like it to be in person. So if we could meet them and do the best of both worlds for those sort of meetings, I think that would be great.
Right.
Well, if you're trying to get people there in person, there happens to be a kitchen attached to that room, if I'm not mistaken. So just saying.
So you're cooking, Dave?
Are you planning to be chef, Dave?
No. For the sake of the town, I will not be offering those services.
So what we could do is have a cookie competition.
I like that.
Bring your cookies, and the winner will get a prize.
A free ticket to town meeting, I believe.
Hold on, I'm typing into the plan. But that's about it. We're excited to bring a new option, and even more happy that now we have our plan written out on paper that we can kind of solidify year after year.
That's right. That's what I was going to say. It's great to see the plan and the action steps like as a real thing that you're following. So kudos to you and Suzanne or whoever's doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, massive credit to Suzanne, who we talked about based on my past 2 experiences, kind of scrapping things together, and she really took it and ran with it and really put together this document, and now will be the point person for executing most of the communications related to this. So massive props to her.
That's great.
But it's really noticeable, Chris, that you and Suzanne have really upped the ante, upped the act in the communications, and it's really appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. I
And the
appreciate that.
quality is also
Yeah, yeah.
tremendous.
Oh yeah, we
The
get
other
such
thing is the
positive feedback.
website. I mean, I gave a couple of suggestions to Suzanne, and in 24 hours, they're up
Right.
on the website. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, this is fantastic.
Mhm.
So,
I appreciate that very much. I just wanted to add that I apologize. Chris was sharing his screen and a page of that mailer wasn't available. So if anybody wanted me to share that with them, I can definitely share the page 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you, Zane. I think actually a copy, I believe, should have been in the packet.
Yep.
And it is, and I
Yeah.
think the packet copy actually.
Yeah, leave it to me to pull up the wrong document. So
Sorry.
all good. It is in the packet though.
Right.
You must
this
have
is
had
when
a
you
hard
get to
night
play the
last
lack
night.
of sleep card, Chris, right now. So,
Yeah,
Right.
there we go. Get that
Right.
excuse
So
while I can.
so the one change, given the conversation, I would make on this, it says hybrid Carroll Community Center, community room. I would just put an asterisk there and just say,
Mhm.
Right.
may or may not work.
Yeah.
And what we probably would want to avoid is, the folks that would be planning on coming no matter what to suddenly change their plan
Right.
and
Right.
say, "Oh, I'll just use it this way," because
Right.
that's probably an expectation that's not going to be met
Yeah.
in comparison to the new method.
Yeah.
So
Right. So maybe we put a little asterisk and then say,
Yep.
if you plan on making comments, it is advised that you attend the meeting in person.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's great.
All right. Well, thank you both.
Indeed.
So item 1.5 are the Board of Selectmen updates. And I actually have had a quiet week or so. So I do not have anything to update that's worth updating.
I'm exactly in the same
Just
position, Robin. So
business as
the floor's
usual.
all
So,
to you, Dave.
right.
well, that maybe is a good thing because we've been busy. So we started the police negotiations too early to report, but process is kicked off. Um, on the Carroll Community Center, right now, all the expenses that have been approved by the building committee have been paid. So if you're looking at any warrants and there's anything additional at this point, please pause and ask. Um, and what's going on there, which may have quite an effect on everything we just talked about, is evidently there is a very bad sewer smell in the community room, outside, and in some of the other areas. So, Mike, I would really appreciate. I need to talk to Nina with you on 3, 4, maybe 5 items. This being one of them, and just to find out where Nina is on the negotiations with the contractor, and to come up to speed on all the other nuances with wrapping up that project. But for the board and for the public, we've cut off anything new. You know, the guillotine has fallen, so nothing more should happen until we have resolution with the M. O'Connor and the other lawsuit. So we're saving all the contingency because we don't know what's going to happen. So spending more money could actually put the town at harm. So that's where we are there. The financial working group, we're very close to presenting our first major policy to the board. Chris, basically, we're ready for you to distribute it. So Joanne, probably Molly, Mike, and then after you guys have had your say, if you will, or review, then obviously it's got to go to Nina.
Mhm.
This we thought we were biting off an easy one, and it turned out to be a lot more involved than we thought. So, but that is in process. So, Chris, when I come in on Monday to see Mike, I'll stop down and see you as well.
Please. Yep.
The next one is sustainability, which met again, reiterating the great news. Anna was able to get a grant to produce for the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness, which is MVP. And when Anna applied, we did not know that Jerry Clark had actually completed MVP step one. So that has been completed and can be used as a good foundation for the 2.0 process. Um,
Thank you to
Sustainability,
Jerry.
yeah,
Yeah.
kudos to him. He filled it out, got the grant, and got the acceptance of their work product. So it's done, and more work needs to be done. And I still get confused because I'm worried that we might be chewing off a little bit more than we can take right now. So originally we were going to do the NVP and focus um, on the mitigation versus resilience. And it was going to cost, estimated to cost 75,000 starting from scratch, and we had a 50,000 grant in hand. Now they're saying, well, we have roughly half the work completed with MVP 1, and they're trying to do both mitigation and resilience at the same time. So now they're coming back and they want 50 on top of the 50. And yet they admit that their chances of getting to this work next year or in this fiscal year is going to be very hard to do because there's so much work to be done. So I don't know if it makes sense to again, crawl, walk, run, and this is kind of trying to sprint right out of the crib. And I'm worried about just falling down through an intense amount of work, community involvement, and integration. Because once you get to the mitigation, now you pop into the DPW, you've got to go to all the land use committees. The state makes us make sure that we are doing is equitable and that we have to pay citizens of different various demographics. And so there's an awful lot here, and I don't know whether or not we're going to be asking for any money or not. Anna's going to go before she's going to call Woody and find out what he would like to see. But I have a big concern about just um, getting well, what's the analogy? Your eyes are bigger than your stomach when you're at the buffet, and it looks like a simple thing, but this is going to be a massive amount of work,
And it's
and we
going to take
also
a
are.
lot of time.
It is a lot of time, and so what I'm trying to do is see if we can break it down into smaller bites, complete MVP 2, and then do the mitigation as a separate process with an all likelihood separate state funding once we get MVP 2. So that's a different element. It's like, why should the taxpayers of Dover pay for it if we can get a large chunk or all of it paid for by the Commonwealth? So that's kind of, sorry, that's a long-winded way of saying I don't know where we stand on that. Um, but Mike and Chris, I just have got all these nits and notes on 3 or 4 different pads of paper that I just need to come see you about, I guess on Monday. So sorry,
Yeah,
guys,
I
I
mean,
took all your time.
I feel like they don't understand, the devil's always in the details, right? And there's no way they're going to get to all of this. And it's a really tough budget year.
That's what I have constantly reminded them of all the capital requests and where we are. And that is very much on my mind as well. I mean, if we could have $50,000 deferred, we're going to need to do it. That's not the issue.
Right.
But
And we will do it.
Exactly. It's one of the pillars of the master plan. So it's not like this is going to be kicked down the road forever. But if we can't get to it well in the next fiscal year, what can we do well? Get a win under our belt, lock, stock, and barrel, and
Right.
then move on.
So how do we resolve this open question then, Dave?
I think it's going to be a conversation with Woody and what he would like to do. And Anna understands, but the committee has got incredible zeal and um, uh, the best intentions. I'm just a little bit more of a realist on what we're going to be able to accomplish. And given the budget constraints this year, um, it's all part of my thought process.
Right. And given all the community engagement, I mean, it's just going to take so much time.
I do not see them completing both processes in the next fiscal year. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave.
So, again, I spoke with Anna today to try and boil it down to this because I was still terribly confused. I'm like, wait a minute. If we needed 75 to go from zero to a complete plan, now we need 100 and we're halfway there. So I'm like,
Right.
why do we need twice
It
the money
doesn't
for
add
half the
up.
work?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't add up. So,
So more work to be done there, but I just want, if there's issues swirling and you hear about them, now you know what the issues are.
Mhm.
okay.
So you guys
Well,
had a
thank
nice
you.
relaxing week.
I'm not
Yes.
so sure about that, but
Okay, well, I guess we can move on to Mike.
Sure. So just a few updates related to the budget, and we've already talked about a lot of town meetings, so I'll skip that stuff. But one is just for the board's awareness. Last week on, I think it was Thursday, the West Suburban Health Group, of which we are members, set the health insurance rates. As you know, we were carrying 15%, as that was what we were advised conservatively to carry. And I'm pleased to report that they voted an 8.03% increase. So,
that's good.
it's weird to feel happy about 8% increase, but I am. So it certainly helps. And Chris is updating the budget model to reflect that. So obviously that'll be a nice improvement, for the budget, which will be great. It will include no longer covering the GLP-1 medication. So we are going to work on getting a communication out to our employees to let them know and that's a result of the insurance making that decision. Most insurance companies, that was effective January 1st. We're considered as part of this group a different. I know it's not quite self-insured, but that's what I think they call it, self-insured. And so ours is effective as of the renewal date. So our coverage for the GLP-1 is a bit longer than many people. Ours will run through, I think it's June 30th, ours renews. So, but starting the next year, that's part of why that reduction came in. The warrant committee started their departmental budget presentations last week, and they'll be continuing next week on Monday and Wednesday. We already talked about open hearing, and I have each year I do a talk with the town prior to town meeting. So we'll be doing town meeting in the budget, and that's scheduled for April 16th through the COA. So I'm looking forward to that. It's usually a great opportunity for people to ask questions and encourage people to attend town meetings. So I'm excited to do that again. Last week, the state drought management task force met, and despite all the snow, they did declare that our region, Dover's in the Southwest region, has worsened to a level 2 significant drought. As I understand it, mostly because while we've had precipitation in the form of snow. Although now it is starting to, it hasn't melted. The frozen ground and the lack of snow melt, just the water wasn't getting into the soil, limiting the groundwater recharge. And so we were elevated. Again, I know it's a broken record to the board for just any public watching. We've been in a drought since last fall. Under the board's guidance, we're essentially, certainly keeping the public updated, but we're not taking any action in terms of putting our signs up because obviously people aren't watering outside. And at this point, that's really the restriction. So we'll continue to monitor the drought status, and as the spring comes, we'll be prepared to get the word back out before people or time for people as they start to get ready to water their lawns. Should we still be in this condition? We're hoping we're not. Once the snow does melt, and I don't know if we're getting more snow or not this weekend, depending on who you listen to.
Tomorrow and Sunday.
And Sunday, yeah.
But it could be snow, it could be sleet, it could be rain.
Right. Or nothing, right? I think one track has to go totally
it's-
out to sea. So you just wake up and see what it's doing outside.
Right.
My dad always did. So, related to that, and I think the board's aware, but Cam and I have been having some discussions the last couple of months about our monitoring wells. And thanks to Cam, we got some information that Carl and his team went out and pulled all of the sensors, and we did find there is active sensors on there. They do need new batteries. So I'm going to be meeting with the Board of Health. The Board of Health, again, thanks to Jerry Clark, we were made aware that they do have funding in their budget each year for water studies. It hasn't been used for a number of years. Again, I think it's this. As people move, new people come in, people aren't aware that money's available. So we'd like to see if we can tap that to purchase new batteries for the monitoring devices so that we can start to utilize that. As opposed to now, we're manually using a tape measure to measure the depth of groundwater. And so this will make an automated daily measurement as opposed to once a month when Carl has the opportunity to get out there and measure. So.
Do we have any mechanisms for actually maintaining a repository of the data, Mike, or where does that stand?
Yeah, so I actually do need to get an update on that. We did have a resident who was working on updating our dashboard, and I actually am not quite sure what the status of that is. I know there was a complete product, and I know there was some hesitation to release that. I think the Sustainability Committee might have been talking through that. So I'll have to get an update on that.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
Anna's sister, I think, has
Yes.
a lot of that data.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. The data all exists. It's just the platform we were using was not great. We had some issues with it, and so I believe it's Elizabeth Nagy.
Mm-hmm.
She was able to create her own dashboard using Google products that we use, and it looked very, very impressive. So I'm hopeful that'll be a great way to display the data. Because again, we have it, but it's not really useful unless it's a nice visual display. So.
Right, and I know the Concom and Open Space committees are very interested in getting some insights from that data.
Absolutely.
Mike,
I wonder.
Sorry, Robin. I was just going to ask the batteries order of magnitude. How much are we talking?
You had to ask Dave.
Doesn't matter. It's
I'll
really
get.
not
I
trivial.
had the number. And right now I'm going to totally blank on it, and I don't have it up. But I will get it to you. But it was.
It was not
less
substantial, though.
Yeah, it was not substantial. I think it was less than $100 per well, I believe.
But my point is that if the Board of Health has this funding in their budget, can we just take it right out of there and get these things done?
Well, so that's the conversation. So again, with our independent boards and committees, things get a little complicated. So I just want to make sure we go through the right process.
Of course.
The water study originally lived within the Board of Health for a number of reasons. I wasn't here, but it was taken away from that venue and brought under the Selectmen, and Robin, I believe, spearheaded that. But the money remained in that account. So that would be the intention, to speak with the board and see if we can get that money used for these purposes. We can just do it right away. And then as soon as the snow melts, we can go and get them installed.
Great.
Terrific.
Thanks, Mike, for that update.
Absolutely.
So my only comment was perhaps and I don't know how this would work with all the snow, but would it be possible to maybe do rechargeable batteries that use a little solar panel? Because we have a bunch of those here, and then you don't have to worry about recharging them.
No,
But
that's
I
a
don't
great
know if
question.
that's
So
feasible.
these are they're actually in the water, so they're like
Okay,
a
all right, so
number
it's
of
not
feet
gonna go.
down. So I think that's a
Okay,
great idea. I don't think that's feasible with
okay,
this particular setup. Yeah, they don't live at the surface; they live down below and
okay.
float in the water. Yeah. Last two, I just wanted to let the board know, appreciate Robin Tessino in HR department. She's working on another annual health fair for employees. It's going to be scheduled in April. It was a real great success last year. She's able to get some vendors in that we use, some vendors in the community that offer health services, and we get some funding from our health insurance group to provide some giveaways and things like that to bring people in. And we work with the schools to time it so the Chickering staff would be available. So I think it's going to run from 1 to 4 so they could come after school to make sure that all our employees are available and able to come. So appreciate that. And then lastly, just to stay tuned, the Housing Task Force and our consultant is working on scheduling our first community forum for our housing plan and roadmap. And it looks like that would be sometime in March. Date still being worked out, but obviously we'll do a full advertisement for that, but just to keep an eye out. But it's great that that's moving along. And that's all I had.
Okay. So then we will move along to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda consists of the following: approve acceptance and expenditures of $1,000 resident gift to the Dover Fire Department to support fire department operations, and approve 2026 one-day liquor licenses for March 10th and the 19th. So I'm going to move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
Hi, Cam Hudson.
All right, and now this evening, the board is going to enter into an executive session, not to return to open session. So I'm going to make a motion for that. So I move that the board enter into executive session, not to return to open session under purpose 2 of MGL chapter 30A section 21A to conduct strategy sessions in preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel, as an open meeting discussion may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the town. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn and not to return.
Well, second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
Hi, Cam Hudson.
And I believe we have another dial-in number for the.
You do,
Yep.
yep. So I won't be there. Chris has to jump off. I think Suzanne will get the meeting started for you, but it will be the separate regular meeting dial-in.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Sounds
Super.
good. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Good
Thank you.
night
Have a good
to
night.
everyone, and
night.
we'll see Robin and Cam in a minute.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.
See you in the next one.